Hi, welcome to CVC Interviews. My name is Joyce Vaudreuil and I'm here with Jason Rhodes today. We are also at this time broadcasting live on Kickstarter. For those of you not familiar with that, it's a great way to help support the arts. And Jason has a beautiful page on Kickstarter that you'll be able to see more about his book. We have asked the Kickstarter folks to please join us and ask us questions that we'll answer after the break. But in the meantime, I would like to introduce Jason Rhodes, a local author and illustrator. Jason, thank you for joining us today here on CVC Interviews.
Thank you for having me.
I loved your Kickstarter webpage. That was very entertaining and very informative. But what is a good description of your book? For those of you that are looking at us now, you'll see we have some wonderful illustrations here we'll talk a little more about. But what can you tell us about the book?
All right, so the book starts off as a safari through a safari to take a look at a number of oversized animals that are in unfortunately sized settings. They don't quite fit, they're squished into the frames, and as you go through the beginning of the book, that's the largest entertainment for the kids. Now as you reach the center of the book, the animals get fed up, they go on strike, and that sets up the back half of the book. So where you start to see the small animals that were squished in the frames with the large animals at the beginning, you start to see that, the book is actually perfectly sized for them, and as it turns out, it's not too small, it's just right.
And the title of the book is?
This Book is Too Small.
This Book is Too Small.
Correct.
And you go to prove otherwise.
That's right, yeah.
All right. So how did you go about writing this?
So, I always wanted to do something creative, something with art, and one of the primary sources of ideas for my books is actually karaoke, believe it or not. My wife can't get enough karaoke. She loves karaoke. And so we'll be out, especially primarily before kids, we'd be out. Okay. And as the night went on, I'd get tired of karaoke. She'd still be going, and so I would start doodling on the back of the karaoke slips, the song requests. And so over the years, I collected a number of them, and I was going through them. I realized I've got a lot of great ideas here. So that actually is where the large animals squished in the frame came from. If you think about it, the karaoke slips are really tiny little pieces of paper.
Sure. And
so naturally, when you're drawing on them, the animals kind of get squished in there. So that was the front half of the book, and then the back half of the book is kind of less entertaining, in my line of work. I'm always trying to get people to find value in the things we've created. Sometimes things don't turn out the way we expect.
Happy accidents.
Happy accidents.
You mentioned that's right. On your Kickstarter video, and you were using a few different examples of it.
Yeah.
Like silly putty and
penicillin.
Penicillin.
Yeah. Right.
That's the one most people know. It was a happy accident.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
And how would you define a happy accident? A combination of?
Oh, well, you start out. You go to experiment. You got to try and do one thing. You think you're going to make a product that does one thing. It fails, but then next thing you know, you're looking at it, and it's, oh wait, it actually would be good for this other thing.
Right. Right.
So actually. I can think of an example in high school where my mom used to do basket weaving, mm-hmm. and at the same time that I was playing with some of her basket weaving material, there was an egg drop competition, and so the two things are in parallel, seemingly have nothing to do with each other, right? But as I'm trying to do some sculptures with the basket weaving material, I realized that when you weave them together a certain way, that they would twist and compress. Yeah. And I realized that if I put them together in a certain way, I made like this perfect little egg drop contraption. Completely not what I was intending to do, but I just happened to observe that this behaved in a way that was perfect for the egg drop.
So your creativeness solved a problem of a cushion for an egg drop.
Yeah, and I was not necessarily trying to solve that problem.
Happy accident.
Happy accident, yeah.
On your Kickstarter page, as a teacher, I loved when you called your book a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
Though you were explaining it on that, and I haven't seen all the pages of the book. What exactly and how would you go about using it as a learning opportunity? What kind of dialogue would you have?
So with my kids,
What are their ages?
2 and 4.
Oh, okay.
And they both love it. They can't get enough of it. One of my son's first words actually was whale, because of the whale. He would ask for the
impressive.
whale, 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 whale.
Oh,
So, but with my daughter anyway, who actually does speak, I would just kind of ask her, is this book really too small? And I would just kind of let her talk about it and kind of wrap her head around the fact that, okay, so it wasn't a catastrophe at all. It actually turned out to be just right for the small animals. And
Right.
we just kind of have a little dialogue, and I let her kind of drive the conversation and just kind of guide it here and there.
very
Yeah.
nice, very nice. As those in the audience can see, we have these beautiful images up. Specifically, we have the whale. Now, the whale image that is next to Jason is his actual original artwork. And what he did was he brought with him today his original artwork and also the finished copy of what the whale image looks like in the book. So as you can see, it went from a beautiful drawing to an even more impressive image with all the text from the book. And these are prints that you have, I see. Kickstarter campaign, which unfortunately will have ended by the time we see
Yeah,
the video. But not for those of you watching live on Kickstarter. You can see that these images are just amazing on their own. They just speak volumes without even the story of the book behind it. I mean, the moose. Who doesn't love a moose or a giraffe with the meerkats? Beautiful, beautiful imagery. Is there anyone here that's your particular favorite?
I love the walrus because the way his tusks are poking out of the frame. But I like them all. The giraffe is fun. That's why I featured him on the front.
Yeah.
I loved doing the big animals squished in, and they were fun.
Yeah, I like the rhino with
Yeah.
the tusks sitting out. So at this time, you're currently in a Kickstarter phase.
Yeah.
You've already met and exceeded your initial goal.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've cleared just about $11,000.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And with that extra money, you're going to now, it'll help fund other projects with inkworms.com?
It'll help fund other projects. It'll help with marketing. And one of the main things I really, really want to be able to do is give away a lot of books to schools and libraries. Because it's kind of a win-win. I get the product out there, and I also get to give to the community. So there's some level of satisfaction in being able to do that.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And with Kickstarter, you're always looking for something that is touching and sweet and wow, what a great thing you get a book when you're done. So, and those, there's also availability, people can buy some of the prints, correct?
Oh, that's right. On the Kickstarter campaign, I'm offering all of the prints. So
Wow.
if you pledge and you select the option to purchase prints, I will send out, the campaign will send out a survey at the end asking which prints you want. And I'll provide little thumbnails of each print so you can select which ones you want. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. I know we were all picking our favorites here in the studio, so really appreciate you bringing them in today. Now, when you were actually writing the text for it, you obviously have a talent for drawing.
Yeah.
Did you know you were a writer?
So I've always been into arts, literature to some degree. In fact, I didn't know I was good at math until college. It was the writing that I was not sure about. So we just started, just did it, and it came out well. So.
Well, I really enjoyed the rhythmic alliterations throughout the book. Were any of your, did you look to Dr. Seuss, or actually Aesop's Fables came to mind when you were describing the book? Anything like that inspire you?
Growing up, I always liked Dr. Seuss, just because it's unique, whimsical. Again, to your point, like the words flow.
Yes.
I don't know if it was a direct inspiration, but it certainly was a major influence growing up for children's books.
Wow. Yeah, I think for a lot of authors.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. he has a way of looking at the world, and as you do with your story, it's not just, oh, the book is too small, maybe for some, but you look at it a different way, and it's just right.
Yeah.
So what can you tell me about Inkworms?
So Inkworms, right now Inkworms is just a website to launch This Book is Too Small. That's very much in the short term. Midterm, over the next few years, I hope to, I should say we hope to turn it into an actual publishing company. Where we have a decent volume of books just from the projects that we're launching ourselves. And then longer term, I want to do some digital transformation with publishing. So there's a number of things that when I was doing this book, I was kind of frustrated with. People who are talented, it shouldn't be so hard to get a product out there, right?
Yeah.
So I want to make mechanisms for talented writers, talented illustrators, people who produce books, to get together and actually create content and create mechanisms where the best products float to the top and we publish them. And then beyond that, I want to provide a marketplace for those books, so it's not just it's more than your Amazon experience. It's how do you make this an experience where your kids are part of the experience of buying the book. So there's a number of things long term we would love to do with Inkworms.
You have some grand plans.
Yeah.
I did see you also are offering it as an ebook. You really can't get away from that.
Yeah.
I love my Kindle, but there's nothing like actually holding a book and seeing the images and even the aroma of a bookstore.
Yeah.
So you really covered the bases there.
Yeah.
I think what we're going to do now is we'll take a short break. Yeah. We'll look at the questions from our Kickstarter folks, and when we come back, we'll answer some of those questions, and we'll also talk a little bit more about Inkworms, Kickstarter, you as an author, and what some of these other projects might be.
All right.
Okay? So thank you very much. We'll be back in just a few moments.
This Book is Too Small is an illustrated children's book teaching kids an important creative lesson. Just because things don't turn out as planned doesn't mean that they are a failure. The story starts off as a guided tour through unfortunately sized settings. As it turns out, the book is a tiny disaster for the oversized animals who are squished into their frames without any regard for their personal comfort. Halfway through the book, the big animals are fed up and go on strike, leaving the reader and the author stranded.
And this is where the learning opportunity arrives. Some of the world's most successful creations have come from happy accidents. Silly putty was a failed rubber substitute. Penicillin was found from a contaminated experiment. In either case, if the originator had focused solely on the failure, neither of those incredibly successful products would have been born. This Book is Too Small shows kids firsthand that sometimes efforts gone wrong can be repurposed for success. Welcome to the Big Big Book of Big Big Animals.
The big ones, they say that the book is too small. That is why, because all the animals are too big. The ones that are small can fit in it. I like bunnies because that's my favorite animal. The mouse. No! Yes. Okay, yeah.
This Book is Too Small is the first book to be launched by Inkworms.com, and we have many more titles that we are eager to release. In addition to producing content, our long-term goal includes creating a platform for talented writers and illustrators. As we evolve the Inkworms site, we will be creating mechanisms for collaboration and distribution channels that ensure the content creators retain fair margins and creative control. But that is for another Kickstarter campaign. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your support in advance.
Hi, welcome back. My name is Joyce Vaudreuil, and I'm continuing my conversation here with Jason Rhodes for our CVC interviews. Thank you all, and thank you, Kickstarter. We are streaming live on Kickstarter. One of the questions that came up from somebody was, what made you choose this medium, watercolors, for your artwork?
Simple, sheer laziness.
Really?
No, it's what I knew from high school, right? So I painted a lot in high school. I learned a lot about watercolors. Oils take too long to dry. I don't have the patience. Acrylics don't look as nice, and I could never get the same look and feel. So I stuck with watercolors. I actually stopped painting, doing any sort of art for quite a long time. When my kids came along, I picked it back up again, and it was weird actually, because my art had entirely changed. Like so my I was just as good as I ever was, but it was just different.
And how so?
The style just looked different than my old stuff. The old stuff was good, new stuff is good. It just looked different.
Just different.
Yeah, so it was interesting.
So was the difference like more serious? Like, this is very whimsical and fun and very colorful.
I've never been serious.
Oh, okay, okay. Well,
Yeah.
it's showing in your artwork now. Very good.
Yeah, no, I would say the difference is I think I have more contrast in some of the stuff that I've done. There's more whites, more lights. My old stuff, I think I maybe had more layers, and so there was less contrast, but there was more, maybe a little more depth, a little more layers of color.
Okay.
Just I like both styles. They both look good. This is just different.
And appropriate for the story.
Yeah, yeah.
So take us through the process. You get this brainstorm at a karaoke bar that your artwork is ready to be seen.
Yeah.
And you have a story forming in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Then what?
So the first half of the story actually was all I had for a while, and so I knew that there was something on the back end, and I kind of had a rough idea of what it might be, but it hadn't completely formed yet. Mm-hmm. But in any event, I started doing the illustrations for the large animals. And actually, if you go to the Kickstarter campaign, there's a evolution of the giraffe.
Yes.
That my partner Mike made.
Yeah.
And it shows how I went from the original sketch to a watercolor, and then how I layered in everything in Photoshop. So essentially, you start with the sketch. You do the watercolors of the different components. Mm-hmm. So there's a watercolor of the giraffe, then separately there's watercolors of the individual lemurs, and then separately there's a watercolor of the grass background, and I layer it all in together in Photoshop, and then I put in cleanup lines and the frames in Photoshop.
Excellent. And how long did that process take?
Well, given that I had young kids, when I first started this, my son was actually an infant. So it's been about 2 years to do everything. Wow. The next ones aren't going to take that long now that I know how to do it all. I've refamiliarized myself with Photoshop, so it's a lot easier now.
Sure.
And I know the whole process for what's required to make the book, right? How to layer it all in.
Right, the actual semantics of using Photoshop. So now you've got your artwork in Photoshop, you've got all your lemurs and giraffes and grass on one image.
Yep.
And when did you start writing the text to go with it?
Wow, I don't actually remember when the text came in. I think I did the text. I may have done the upfront text first.
Oh, okay.
Is that right? Wow, it's about 2 years ago. I don't remember.
2
I don't remember last week. So, but I think I did the text first. Yeah, we'll go with that.
The language is multi-layered because it's the rhythmic alliterations. You can capture that much younger audience, whereas those of us are usually the ones that are actually reading the book to a youngster can enjoy the images that the text conjures up and matches the graphics.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's
Thank you.
absolutely beautiful. So you've got your text, you've got your Photoshop. Now it's ready to be published. What happened?
Once I have the illustrations and the text, I compiled everything in InDesign.
Okay.
It actually took me a long time to find out what the right format was, so that it was so that I could take the compiled document and send it to a printer. I had to spend a lot of time researching how to do that. Surprisingly few resources out there that tell you everything you need to know. There's bits and pieces here and there.
Sure.
Yeah, it took me a while to figure some of that stuff out.
All right, so is that where the inception of Inkworms came up? Is that you didn't want anybody else to suffer the pains?
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is I was looking at the different self-publishing options, and I'll just say I didn't care for them, right? So
Okay.
I'm like, you know what? Short term, I'll probably sell less copies by publishing it myself,
Right.
by actually printing it myself. But long term, I've got with the people I'm collaborating with, we have like 50 book ideas.
Wow.
So over the next few years, we're going to generate a lot of books, a lot of good content's going to come out. I'm actually really excited about it.
Yeah, you should be, yeah.
And so long term, if I can get my own publishing company up and running, I can do it the way I want and actually retain decent margins for the products.
Right, because
Yeah.
that seems to be a common thread. I have a friend of mine who writes mystery novels, and he struggles with the supply chains and the publishing. And so Inkworms will be a company that other authors can go to help with collaboration. You have artists, you have writers.
Yes.
You'll do the publishing and marketing.
Yeah, and one key concept of Inkworms is I want to be as fair as possible to the content creators, right? So, without naming any specific companies, they take probably more than is fair. In fact, I think it discourages a lot of talented people from trying to create content. And so, I want to allow content creators to actually have a chance to make a decent living doing this stuff.
Right.
So.
And how would a budding author reach you for Inkworms?
So, I will take any email through the site. Obviously.
Yes.
I will say right now I have a smaller group of authors and illustrators I'm working with for the initial phases. The expansion of the collaboration will probably come a little bit later. But that being said, if somebody sends me something that's good, they're obviously talented.
Right.
I'm not going to say no.
Right. True.
So
like some Kickstarter campaigns, you have been very successful early on. The book is all set, ready to go. You've got this book is too small, and the other money is going to be used for Inkworms to help budding authors and this group of folks you have.
So it'll be. We will have more books to publish, and we'll probably run Kickstarter campaigns for those as well.
Excellent.
At some point in the future, but clearly we'll need funding to print future copies, and also again, I think I said earlier,
the donations.
I really want to be able to get. I would love it if I could give 100 books away to schools and libraries.
Excellent. How would you choose the books that you do? How would you choose the recipients of your books? The libraries would probably start with the towns in your area because you live here in this area.
So my wife is actually a librarian. And I probably end up leaning on her for some recommendations for a good place, right? Start locally. I think you just start locally with schools and libraries, and then you expand out from there. If I end up doing once I have the actual books, if I hold events in various places, if I travel at all, I probably would pick schools, libraries in those locations, and just continue to.
So
donate.
you could speak and donate. I have some friends that are media specialists, and I would lean on them to say, okay, what's a great new book, or to bring your wife in on the loop there. That's what a wonderful natural connection. That'd be excellent. And what about the book tours? You mentioned you will take your book once it's published. It should be done in a couple of months now.
Before Christmas.
Before Christmas. That's right. I saw that selling feature.
That's right.
I know one event you'll be at, and you'll also be donating one of your prints. Is the CVC fundraising gala we're having?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
So November 11th, you'll be donating your your items, and hopefully you'll be able to attend.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you will be there.
I don't.
All right, we'll check with the
I
librarian.
don't know for sure. Yeah, we'll check with,
With
the
the
librarian. That's right.
We'll make sure your social calendar is available.
Yeah.
That would be a great opportunity for folks to meet with you.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
And for them to get a copy of one of these beautiful images.
Yeah.
I think everybody has their favorite here.
Yeah.
That would be wonderful. So is there anything else you'd like to tell us about Inkworms or your book in itself?
Well, so you were before the break. You were talking about the hardcover versus the ebook, and I actually
yes.
feel the same way about. I prefer to have the book,
Yeah,
and so I was
yeah.
very focused on creating the hardcover book product, right, the
Right.
physical product. But as I started looking into creating an ebook, just because that's what you do, right? You have to
Yeah.
have the ebook.
Yeah.
I realized there's some pretty cool things you can do with it, right? So, especially on the back half of the book where the animals are smaller, in the ebook, maybe not the first version of the ebook, but definitely at some point we'll have features where you can hover over things and they'll pop up and you can dig into the details and maybe have the animals interact, right? Mike, the guy who did my partner, friend, who did the videos, has also been very good at animating some of these illustrations, and so we might be able to do that for some of the ebooks. So there's
Excellent.
upside to ebooks as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I like I said, I have a Kindle. I love my Kindle, but there's nothing beats walking into a bookstore. Both new books and old have their own distinctive aroma and charm.
Yeah, yeah. Agreed.
Excellent that you're doing that. I wish you a lot of luck in combining both the hardcover books along with the e-readers. I mean, you really can't escape it, but hovering over it and being able to see more information, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
What a great way.
I'm looking forward to playing with the ebook possibilities. Yeah.
Now, besides the fundraising gala, do you have anything else scheduled? Will you be able to go into some of the schools locally and meet with their media specialists?
Yeah, I don't have anything scheduled as of yet, but
Okay.
Once we have the physical product in hand, we'll probably start trying to schedule stuff like that. Especially before Christmas, I think there might be some fun stuff we can set up. It all depends on how quickly we can get the books in. Worst case scenario is end of November, like first week of December. I'm looking into options to get stuff sooner, so I have more possibilities prior to Christmas.
Without adding too much to the cost, I would imagine.
Exactly right.
Yeah, and FedExing nowadays, you can send something 2 days, and as soon as it's done.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to seeing the hardcover version. I feel like it's been a treat seeing your original artwork and also how it got from there to this. So
Thank you.
I really appreciate you taking the time to come share your information with us here at CVC. I look forward to seeing more from Inkworms.
Yep.
I'd like to thank
.com.
everyone. Inkworms.com, that's
Yeah.
right. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining us here today, including our Kickstarter campaign folks who've been watching us live, and I greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much, and we'll see you at the next CVC interviews. My name is Joyce Vaudreuil with Jason Rhodes. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.